Okay, so Chris, we will now, in reverse order, introduce your imprint, which is you started this.
Yeah.
La Baguette Noir Press.
Baguette Noir Press. It's I think it must be about 4 or 5 years ago now. Started it. It was kind of came out of doing the first book that I did, which was Old World Order, which was sort of this science fiction conspiracy book, and I'd been a musician for a long time, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And comics had always been a big part of my life. I had writing jobs at one point, and so I just wanted to start writing comics. And Old World Order came out first, basically, and so I needed a means to put it into shops and sell it. So that was Baguette Noir Press, came out of that. Old World Order was then followed by a thing that I did for the Aberdeen College student magazine. It was a series of one. I got 1 page per student magazine to tell the story over 8 pages, which is, I mean, for someone who's only done a couple of books beforehand, was insanely challenging to get an 8-page story in monthly segments. And that was called LoJacked. It was kind of a crime noir sort of thing with, femme fatales and Russian gangsters and stuff. And then we kind of started doing conventions and stuff. Baguette Noir came from Old World Order. The first 3 issues of that were done by an artist called Greg Fisher, who was a friend of mine and stuff. And the name came from the Baguette Noir came from a caricature that he'd done of a French friend of ours. And done him up as a superhero, the Black Baguette. So I kind of stole that from that. The logo came from when I was in a band, and we thought if music wasn't going to work out for us, we would open a chain of toasty shops called Mixin' My Toasties. And then
that would be the logo.
The logo would be a dead rabbit. So we're about to print Old World Order.
That is dark.
Yeah. So we're about to print Old World Order, and we're like, God damn it, we need a logo. And I'm like, I got an idea for a logo. It's Dead Rabbit. Mix them with Toasties. It's really funny. We'll use that. And there it is.
And so that all came together, made this logo, and from there you've been since producing the stuff that we will talk about in the next segment, as we uncomfortably cut to everyone being on the couch.
These 2 books you would probably deem them to be horror books, I guess. Maidenstone is one that I wrote with a guy called Scott Beveridge Drew, who's been a fantastic.
He was also the guy on the front door.
Yeah, he was also doing the door for most of the afternoon, and never complained or did. He took it all in his stride. Do you know what I mean? When you're at the door and you're looking down 1,000 people long queue, and he just.
It's like, Scott, are you okay? You sure you're fine?
Yeah, I'm fine. But. So the basic premise of Maidenstone is it's based on an old Scottish legend. There's a Celtic standing stone just outside Geary at the bottom of Benahee, essentially. And my parents used to take me there all the time when I was a kid, and I found it the atmosphere of the place stayed with me because it's kind of has this spooky, really desolate sort of feel around there. And so I kind of wanted to retell the legend, but in a modern day setting, and try and say something about maybe what it's like to grow up in rural Scotland and get some existential terror in there as well. And the Scott is from right up north. I think it's is it Wick that he's from?
He's Wick, yeah.
He's from Wick, so
really north.
He got exactly what I was trying to do.
There's not much left.
Yeah, I mean, for Scott to get his comics, it was like a 4-hour round trip to Inverness.
Yeah,
and so comics were precious to him. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was a Maidenstone, and we're doing pretty well with that. It's been getting some pretty cracking reviews and stuff. And there's me and him are quite proud of this book. If that, I mean, we're proud of the other one as well. But there's a lot of us in that.
Yeah.
And the next issue's out
especially in the middle pages as well.
Yeah, we were actually in it.
He drew himself into the comic. He's done a proper Grant Morrison in there. Like
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest, though, man. I just got that double pager through, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I really like the texture and everything. Scott does a lot of cool things with texture and stuff. And then wait a minute, I recognize those two guys up in the corner there. That's me and him.
Having a day out.
Yeah, a day out with a funeral. So yeah, next issue, that is September. We're launching that down in Birmingham at the International Comic Expo down there, but it'll be in Forbidden Planet and Plan 9 and online when we get back from Birmingham. The anthology, which came out on the day of the convention, came out the back of, I run a wee creator group called Silver City Comics every month, and we just kind of meet, do sort of wee art or writing homework exercises. It's designed for people who want to want to make their own comics. So we get together, we talk, we show off our work, and out of those sort of homework exercises came these characters and these stories that we thought, well, this can all kind of loosely hang together. And that's the final result. Scott drew one of these stories. I wrote a couple of the scripts. It was a really collaborative thing.
How many folk did you have in on it, actually?
When it started, there were 5 characters with 10 folk, a writer and an artist attached to each. But as things go on, as these things tend to do, people drop out and other people come on board, and it's just the nature of the game, really.
Especially with an anthology with so many moving parts.
Yeah, totally.
So on,
that was a pretty steep learning curve for me as well, in terms of having to edit all of this stuff together and coordinate artists. Coordinating artists is like herding cats. So, so yeah, that's kind of the two current books for Baguette Noir. Like I say, Made in Stone 2 is in September, and we're kind of thinking about another anthology just now. We probably won't.
That's also based on like the amount of people you get and the input.
Yeah,
from everyone.
I mean, the Silver City thing is kind of taken off a bit pre and post convention. A lot more people in Aberdeen seem to be more interested in making their own stuff, which to me is great.
You've met a lot of people as well through this to
exactly that, and a lot of it's kind of gratifying. There's a lot of kind of younger folk getting involved. Art students. We've got more of a bias towards artists at the moment. When we first started, it was all writers and 1 or 2 artists who who's getting 6 scripts, and he's like, well, I can't draw all this stuff, But the bias is more now towards artists, so it's great. And loads of varying different styles, loads of people at different ages, different kind of levels of experience and stuff. So that's again, to get back to what we were speaking about early on, it's community. And building this kind of creators community has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And Morgan's going to be working on something that we're going to put hopefully. Out. Yeah.
I've got a couple of scripts I'm working on just now. Excuse me. We've got Silver Thistle, which came out of the Comic Con actually originally.
Yeah.
It was an idea of a mascot, I suppose would be the best way to explain it. And we'd asked one of Chris's friends to design. Well, we started off an idea as a mascot, and that got designed. We didn't have the budget to really make this cosplayed person. It kind of drifted away, and we were speaking
it was
one night.
Time constraints as well, getting it ready for
financials and all that. And we were sitting one night speaking about superheroes in Aberdeen, how hard it is. What would a superhero do now, apart from getting a bus and tell people not to play their music on their phones or something? It's not the crime capital of Europe.
Exactly.
So we had a wee chat about that, and I decided to go away and make a little idea of a dystopian Aberdeen, down the future. So I'm working on that just now for an artist, Tom, and that's hopefully October. Hopefully for issue 1 coming out, so that'll be good fun.
And is that coming out on its own, or is that coming out as like an idea to go with the anthology?
It'll be on its own, as its own book. Although I am hopefully, if I get accepted in my work, we can do something anthology for the next.
You didn't make the cutoff.
I wasn't. I turned up late to the show for that one, but it was good. So I sat in a couple of the meetings, and it's good. It's good to get that creative juices flowing with everyone sitting around, and even just listening to what folk are saying, and you get some good ideas, and it's good. It's kind of strange though, because Chris just did his first kind of like editor thing with me, and the first draft came back, and I was like, we're just gone together, we're friends, and now you're my editor.
I can imagine you'd be quite ruthless as well, is it?
No, it was good. It was absolutely good.
I'm never nasty about it.
It was good. We mentioned earlier on, I don't know if we're filming at the time, but he'd come back with some stuff like, this is a bit too much like this is a bit too much like that. And the things he was saying is books I don't read. So for me, it was like, right, I would have never seen that because I don't read those books.
It's a different perspective.
Yeah, so it was like one of the ones, this is maybe a bit too Batman this part, and I was like sitting. I was on the rig offshore at the time. I was like, how do I make it less like Batman? It's like, all right, I'll have the main character steal some shit. So, she needs a car.
Sorry.
But I mean, even like you're saying, getting the creative juices flowing. I've been to a couple of the Silver City things as well, and I mean, I spoke to you last year about it. I was like, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind getting in on this. I mean, I've got no history in writing comics and stuff like that as well. To be honest, I came pretty late to the show with the comic book things. I'm more into the sort of the prop thing and the gaming and stuff like that as well. I've read comics as a kid, and I went away from it for about 15 years, and then started palling around with Chris again. It's kind of hard to be friends with Chris without him just thrusting books at you left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
so,
I went to a bar the other day to meet some friends, and I stood at the bar and, hello, how's it going? Blah 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 blah. And Scotty turned around and went, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. And I'm like, what? And like, it took you 3 minutes, 20 seconds from walking through that door to mention comics.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? No way!
You know? Exactly. Yeah, and now I've got an idea in my head, and I've got a sort of a plan to put something out there. It won't be anything in these guys' caliber. I very much doubt. I'm going to try and keep it quite low. But
shocks.
I can't remember who it was that said it, but it's something it was someone who actually said something in our course. I think it might have been Bishop, the guy that did he was an editor in Judge Dredd.
Okay.
But he said if the first thing you do is the best thing you do, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, if it can, I mean, just sitting with these guys for like, you know, a couple of hours on a Wednesday evening, like, you know, I think it's the last Wednesday of the month you normally aim for.
Yeah.
It's sort of, and I went away home. I had no interest in comics. No interest in comics is ridiculous. There's no interest in making my own comic until I went and sat in one of these things. They're really good. I mean, the guys are really friendly. They're really, really passionate about what they do as well. And it's a welcoming group as well. The Silver City guys, you know, they all like really want to chat. And if you have an idea, no matter how daft it is, they will chat to you about it, and they'll come up with better ideas and stuff like that, and like really inspire you as well. So it's really good that it's.
They're in Mark Cameron's.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if just for a thing, because obviously you've said it's an open group kind of thing as well. It's people can, you know, get informed through Facebook where you're going to.
Yeah, it's search Silver City Comics and you'll see the group. And
how often do you meet?
It's once a month, and like you said, it's generally the last Wednesday of the month. Sometimes it's a Tuesday, depending on what the bar's got booked on. It's a Tuesday. In fact, it's this coming Tuesday. Yeah. We're sort of talking about next year's anthology at the moment, but just in very loose terms of we're going to get away from this overarching plot thing, because that was maybe a little ambitious for the first anthology. And we're just going to go with a theme, and it might be aliens or robots or warriors or something like that. And rather than everyone on that got 8 pages, and we're going to give you the choice this time. You can 2, 4, or 8, and it'll be kind of a submissions sort of thing.
Different packages,
but we'll be working on homework sort of stuff in the meantime. We did things like you and one of our other artist pals found some uninked Alex Ross art online, so he printed out a whole rake of that, and it was like, here's your homework, ink that. And I think he did the same with an Adam Hughes Batman page as well. Ink that. That's quite cool. And it I had wee writery ones where it was just around the time when they just announced that there were going to be new Star Wars films, and I was like, okay, cool, write a crawl for the new Star Wars film. Write the crawl for it. So we did that.
It's just exercise to keep stuff fresh in your head, totally, and keep you like motivated.
Exactly. And I used to have this thing where if I bought a comic book, like a Marvel book or a DC book or whatever, and I didn't like it, I'd rewrite it. And they just brought out Phantom X, his own. I really love that character, but his own series was garbage.
Was that the Max one recently?
Yeah, I rewrote it. So we started doing things like that. If you find a book that you don't like, rewrite it and make it good. You know, and that ended up being a lot of fun.